You know that moment when your whole world collapses in the span of 5 seconds? When everything you thought you knew about the people you trust gets shattered like glass hitting concrete. That's exactly what happened to me 3 weeks ago when I walked through my front door and saw what my stepmother had done to my 8-year-old daughter Emma. Let me start from the beginning because you need to understand just how trusted this woman was in our family and how her betrayal cut deeper than any knife ever could. My name is David, and I'm a 34-year-old single father to the most beautiful little girl in the world. Emma has these incredible, naturally long eyelashes that curl perfectly, the kind that grown women spend hundreds of dollars trying to achieve with extensions and treatments. My stepmother, Patricia, or Pat as we called her, had been part of our lives for 6 years. She married my father when Emma was just 2, and honestly, she seemed like a godsend. After Emma's mother passed away when she was barely 1 year old, Pat stepped in and filled that maternal role beautifully. Or so I thought. 3 weeks ago was supposed to be just another ordinary Tuesday. I had an important client meeting that would run late, a potential contract that could set my consulting business up for the next 2 years. Emma had a half day at school, and normally I'd arrange for after-school care, but Pat offered to pick her up. "Don't worry about it, David," she said over the phone that morning, her voice warm and reassuring. "I'll get Emma, maybe we'll bake some cookies, watch a movie. It'll be fun." I remember feeling grateful. Pat had always been so good with Emma. She taught her how to braid friendship bracelets, helped with homework, even attended school plays when I couldn't make it due to work. Emma adored her, Grandma Pat. "Thanks, Pat. You're a lifesaver," I told her. "I should be home by 7 at the latest. Take your time, honey. Emma and I will have a wonderful afternoon together." Those words would haunt me for the rest of my life. I actually finished my meeting early. The client loved our proposal, and I was riding high, excited to get home and tell Emma about the potential family vacation we could finally afford. I picked up her favorite Thai food on the way, pad Thai with extra peanuts, just how she likes it. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet. Usually, I'd hear Emma's laughter or the TV, but there was this strange, heavy silence that made my skin crawl. "Emma? Pat?" I called out, setting the food on the kitchen counter. That's when I heard it, soft sobbing coming from upstairs. My daughter's room. My heart started pounding as I climbed those stairs. Emma rarely cried. She was such a happy, resilient kid. But this wasn't just crying. This was the kind of broken sobbing that comes from deep betrayal, from having your trust shattered by someone you loved. I pushed open her bedroom door, and what I saw will be burned into my memory forever. Emma was sitting on her bed, her small body shaking with sobs, her hands covering her face. But it wasn't her posture that stopped me cold, it was what I could see peeking through her fingers. Her beautiful, long eyelashes, the ones that had been her pride and joy, the ones that made strangers stop us on the street to compliment them, were gone. Not just trimmed. Completely cut off, leaving tiny, ugly stubs that made her eyes look naked and strange. "Emma?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. She looked up at me and I saw the full extent of the damage. Both eyes. Every single lash. Cut so close to the root that some areas were bleeding slightly from where the scissors had nicked her delicate skin. "Daddy," she wailed, launching herself into my arms. "Grandma Pat said I was being vain. She said pretty girls who care too much about their looks grow up to be bad women." I held her tight, my own eyes filling with tears as rage began building in my chest like a volcano ready to erupt. "Where is she, sweetheart? Where's Grandma Pat?" "She left," Emma sobbed into my shoulder. "Right after she did it. She said she had to go to the store, but she's been gone for hours." "Daddy, why did she hurt me? I didn't do anything wrong." The sound of my daughter asking why someone she trusted had hurt her was like a knife to my soul. I carried her to the bathroom, gently cleaning the tiny cuts around her eyes while she continued to cry. As I cleaned her wounds, Emma told me the whole story through her tears. Pat had picked her up from school as planned, but instead of going home for cookies and movies, she'd driven straight to her own house. She kept talking about how I was getting too concerned with my appearance, Emma whispered. She said I spent too much time looking in mirrors and that you were raising me to be superficial. The accusation hit me like a slap. Emma was 8 years old. Yes, she liked how her eyelashes looked, but what little girl wouldn't? She wasn't vain, she was just a kid who happened to be blessed with a beautiful feature. Then she made me sit in her kitchen chair, Emma continued, her voice getting smaller. She got her sewing scissors and said this was for my own good, that one day I'd thank her for saving me from becoming a shallow woman. I had to step outside Emma's room for a moment because I was shaking with rage so violently that I didn't want to scare her further. I leaned against the hallway wall, taking deep breaths and trying not to punch a hole through the drywall. My phone buzzed. A text from Pat, had to run some errands. Emma's fine. See you later. The casual tone, as if she hadn't just traumatized my child, made my blood boil even hotter. I texted back immediately, come back. We need to talk. But she didn't respond. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times, but no reply came. I went back to Emma and held her until she finally cried herself to sleep. I sat there in her darkened room, watching her chest rise and fall, planning exactly what I was going to say when Pat finally had the courage to show her face. She didn't come back that night, or the next morning. It wasn't until the following evening that she finally returned, probably hoping I'd had time to cool down, and we could sweep this under the rug like it was some minor disagreement. I was waiting in the living room when she walked in, trying to act casual with her shopping bags and fake smile. Oh, David, you're home early. How was your meeting? How was my meeting? I stood up slowly, my voice deadly calm. My meeting was fine, Pat. But my daughter's face is mutilated. Would you like to explain that? Her fake smile faltered. Oh, that. Well, David, I've been meaning to talk to you about Emma's vanity problem. She's becoming far too focused on her appearance for a child her age. Vanity problem? I repeated, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. She's 8 years old, Pat. 8. And you took scissors to her face without my permission. I was helping her, she insisted, setting down her bags and crossing her arms defensively. You don't see it because you're her father, but I've watched her becoming more and more concerned with her looks. It's unhealthy. Helping her? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You made her bleed, Pat. There are cuts around her eyes from where you held the scissors too close. She sobbed for 2 hours straight. Children are dramatic, she waved dismissively. A few tears now will save her from a lifetime of shallow thinking. You should be thanking me. That's when I lost it. Thanking you? Thanking you? I shouted. You assaulted my daughter. You took scissors to her face without permission and then ran away like a coward. I did not assault anyone, she snapped back. I made a parenting decision that you were too blind to make yourself. Someone had to save that girl from becoming vain and superficial. A parenting decision? I was incredulous. You're not her parent, Pat. You're not even my stepmother anymore after this. You're just some woman who mutilated my child's face. Her face went white. David, you're being dramatic. It's just eyelashes. They'll grow back eventually. Eventually? Eventually. I was seeing red. Do you have any idea how long eyelashes take to grow back? 6 to 8 weeks, Pat. My daughter has to go to school looking like this for 2 months because of your twisted sense of morality. She needed to learn. Pat started, but I cut her off. She needed to learn what? That the adults in her life can't be trusted? That someone she loved could hurt her for no reason? Because congratulations, Pat, that's exactly what you taught her. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling my father. And then I'm calling the police. The police? Pat's voice cracked. David, surely we can work this out as a family. There's no need to involve outsiders. Family? I laughed bitterly. Family doesn't assault each other's children, Pat. Family doesn't traumatize 8-year-olds over imaginary problems. My father answered on the second ring. David? What's wrong? You sound upset. Dad, your wife just cut off Emma's eyelashes with scissors. All of them. She made her bleed and then abandoned her for over 24 hours. The silence on the other end stretched for what felt like forever. Finally, Dad spoke. She did what? Pat grabbed for my phone. Let me talk to him. David's exaggerating everything. I can explain. I pulled the phone away from her. Dad, she's trying to grab the phone from me right now. She keeps saying Emma was becoming vain and that she was helping her by cutting off her eyelashes. Put her on the phone. Dad's voice was cold, colder than I'd ever heard it. I handed Pat the phone with a grim smile. He wants to talk to you. Pat's face went from desperate to hopeful. She thought she could manipulate my father the way she tried to manipulate me. Hello, honey, she said sweetly into the phone. I couldn't hear my father's words, but I could see Pat's face changing as he spoke. The color drained away, her mouth dropped open, and her hands started shaking. But Robert, I was trying to help, she started, but apparently he cut her off because she went silent, listening with growing panic. Finally, she whispered, Robert, please don't do this. I'm your wife. Then her face crumpled as she pulled the phone away from her ear. He'd hung up on her. What did he say? I asked, though her expression already told me everything I needed to know. He said, she swallowed hard. He said he's filing for divorce tomorrow, and that I need to be out of his house by this weekend. I felt a grim satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. And I'm still calling the police. David, please, Pat begged, tears streaming down her face now. I made a mistake. I can see that now. But calling the police will ruin my life. You should have thought about that before you took scissors to my daughter's face, I replied coldly, dialing 911. As I waited for the dispatcher to answer, Pat made one last desperate attempt. She's not even really hurt. It's just hair. It'll grow back. 911, what's your emergency? The dispatcher's calm voice came through the phone. I need to report an assault on a minor, I said, never taking my eyes off Pat's horrified face. Pat sank onto my couch, finally understanding that her actions had consequences she couldn't talk her way out of. The police arrived within 15 minutes. 2 officers, 1 male and 1 female, both looking serious as I explained what had happened. Where's the child now? Officer Martinez asked, her voice gentle but professional. Upstairs in her room. She's been traumatized since yesterday. She keeps asking me why someone she trusted would hurt her. The male officer, Officer Johnson, turned to Pat. Ma'am, can you explain your side of what happened? Pat launched into the same justification she tried on me. Emma was becoming vain, she was helping her, it was just hair, I was overreacting. The officers exchanged a look. Officer Martinez asked, Ma'am, did you have the father's permission to cut this child's hair? I didn't think I needed permission, Pat said weakly. I've been helping raise her for years. But she's not legally your child, Officer Johnson pointed out. And these weren't regular haircuts, were they? Can we see the child? I led them upstairs to Emma's room. She was awake, sitting on her bed with a book, but I could see she'd been crying again. Hi, sweetheart, Officer Martinez said gently, sitting down beside Emma. Can you tell me what happened yesterday? Emma looked at me for permission, and I nodded. She told the whole story again, her voice small but clear, occasionally touching the areas around her eyes. Officer Martinez examined Emma's eyes carefully, taking photos of the cuts and the stubble-like remains of her eyelashes. Honey, did Grandma Pat ever hurt you before this? Officer Martinez asked gently. Emma shook her head. No, she was always nice before. That's why I was so confused. I thought she loved me. The officer's face hardened. She does love you, sweetie. Sometimes adults make very bad choices even when they love someone. That doesn't make it okay. After documenting everything, the officers came back downstairs where Pat was still sitting on my couch, now looking completely defeated. Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault on a minor, Officer Johnson announced, pulling out his handcuffs. Pat's eyes went wide. Assault? But I didn't hit her. I was trying to help. Cutting someone's hair without permission, especially in a way that causes injury, is considered assault, Officer Martinez explained. The fact that she's a minor makes it worse. As they read Pat her rights, she kept looking at me pleadingly. David, please. Tell them you don't want to press charges. The state presses charges in cases involving minors, I replied coldly. It's out of my hands now. Just like Emma's eyelashes were out of yours. They led her away in handcuffs. Through the window, I watched them put her in the back of the police car like the criminal she was. Emma came downstairs as the car disappeared around the corner. "Is Grandma Pat in trouble?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart. Big trouble. What she did to you was wrong, and now she has to face the consequences." "Will my eyelashes really grow back?" Emma touched her eyes again, a habit she'd developed since the assault. "Yes, they will. It'll take a couple of months, but they'll grow back just as beautiful as before. Maybe even prettier." Over the next few days, the story spread through our family like wildfire. Every single relative was horrified by what Pat had done. My father called me every day to apologize and ask about Emma. He'd filed for divorce immediately and changed his will to ensure Pat got nothing. "I feel like such a fool," he told me during one call. "How did I not see what kind of person she really was? She hit it well, Dad. Predators usually do. The important thing is that you believe Emma and you're supporting us now." Pat was charged with assault on a minor and child endangerment. Her lawyer tried to argue for leniency, claiming it was a misguided parenting decision. The prosecutor wasn't having it. The defendant took scissors to an 8-year-old's face without permission and caused physical injury. This isn't parenting, it's assault. Emma had to testify, which was heartbreaking. But she was so brave, telling the judge exactly what happened in her clear, honest way. "She said I was being vain," Emma told the judge. "But I wasn't being mean to anyone. I just liked how my eyelashes looked." Pat was sentenced to 6 months in jail, 2 years probation, and mandatory anger management classes. She was also ordered to pay for Emma's therapy. The day she was sentenced, Pat's sister called me, crying. "David, I'm so sorry. We had no idea she was capable of something like this." "I don't blame you," I told her. "She fooled all of us. The important thing is that Emma gets justice and healing." Emma's eyelashes started growing back after about 3 weeks, tiny little stubs that gradually got longer each day. But the emotional scars took longer to heal. Emma became afraid of scissors, flinching whenever she saw them. We started therapy immediately to help her process the betrayal. Dr. Sarah, Emma's therapist, explained that trust violations by caregiver figures can be particularly traumatic for children. "It shakes their fundamental sense of safety," she told me. Emma asked me one day, "Daddy, how do I know who I can trust now?" The question broke my heart because I didn't have a good answer. "We'll figure it out together," I told her. "And I promise you, no one will ever hurt you like that again while I'm around to protect you." The school was incredibly supportive. Emma's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had been horrified when I explained why Emma looked different and had offered extra emotional support. Some of Emma's classmates asked questions about her eyes, but most were just glad to see her back. Children are remarkably resilient and accepting. Pat tried to contact us several times from jail, letters, phone calls through relatives, even a message through her lawyer. I refused all contact and told everyone to do the same. Now, 3 months later, Emma's eyelashes have grown back to about half their original length. But more importantly, she's smiling again, laughing with her friends, and slowly rebuilding her trust in the world. The final twist came when we were cleaning out my father's house after Pat moved out. In her bedroom closet, we found a disturbing collection of articles she'd printed out about raising modest children and preventing vanity in young girls. There were dozens of them, all highlighting passages about the dangers of allowing children to focus on their appearance. Some had Emma's school photos taped to them with her eyelashes circled in red marker. My father was horrified. "David, she'd been planning this for months. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. She'd been obsessing over Emma's eyelashes and plotting to cut them." We also found a journal where she documented every time Emma looked in a mirror, every compliment she received about her eyelashes, every time she touched her face. It was the work of someone deeply disturbed. She was stalking my daughter, I realized with a chill. In our own home, she was watching Emma like a predator, waiting for the right moment to strike. I immediately took all the evidence to the police. The prosecutor was able to add stalking and premeditation charges, which meant Pat's sentence was extended to 2 years in prison. When Emma found out about the journal, she wasn't scared, she was angry. She was watching me like I was doing something wrong just by existing, she said with remarkable insight for an 8-year-old. That's exactly right, Dr. Sarah confirmed during our session. Pat's actions were about her own issues, not anything Emma did or didn't do. 6 months after the assault, Emma's class had a presentation about bullying. She stood up and told her story, explaining how even adults sometimes make terrible choices and hurt people they're supposed to protect. But the important thing, Emma told her classmates, is that when someone hurts you, you tell a trusted adult right away. And you never let them convince you that it was your fault. I was so proud of her in that moment. She'd taken her trauma and turned it into a teaching moment for other children who might face similar situations. Pat was released after serving 18 months, but she was forbidden from contacting us. She moved to another state, and we never heard from her again, which was exactly how we wanted it. Emma's eyelashes eventually grew back completely, longer and more beautiful than ever. But the real victory was watching her confidence return, seeing her trust in good people rebuild itself slowly but surely. My father remarried 2 years later to a wonderful woman named Grace, who Emma adores. But Grace earned that trust slowly, with patience, kindness, and respect, the way all relationships with children should be built. Emma, now 10, still remembers what happened, but it doesn't define her. She's a confident, happy child who knows her worth isn't tied to her appearance. Ironically, the exact opposite of what Pat claimed to be teaching her. Sometimes people ask me if I think I overreacted by having Pat arrested. My answer is always the same. If someone took scissors to your child's face, would you consider that an overreaction? The truth is, Pat didn't just cut Emma's eyelashes that day. She cut away Emma's innocence, her trust, her sense of safety in her own home. Those are wounds that take much longer to heal than any physical injury. But children are incredibly resilient when they have adults who believe them, protect them, and fight for them. Emma healed because she knew she was loved and supported unconditionally. Today, Emma is thriving. She's an honor roll student, has close friends, and yes, she still thinks her eyelashes are pretty. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The last entry in Pat's journal, which we found months later, read, "Today I will save Emma from her vanity." Instead, she destroyed her own life and traumatized an innocent child. The irony would be poetic if it weren't so tragic. Emma's story ended with justice and healing, but it started with one simple truth. When someone hurts your child, you fight for them with everything you have. You believe them, you protect them, and you make sure there are consequences. Some people might say I destroyed a family by having Pat arrested. But Pat destroyed herself the moment she decided that an 8-year-old child needed to be taught a lesson with a pair of scissors. What would you do if someone you trusted betrayed your child like this? Would you have handled it differently? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more real stories about real people facing impossible situations. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is listen to each other's experiences and learn from them. And remember, if you're a parent, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your child's safety is more important than anyone's feelings, including family members who think they know better than you do. Thanks for listening to Emma's story. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.